Hello. This isn't exactly impromptu. Easter is, I think, less than a week away. And I've mentioned on Christmas and Easter before, so that if you were a real believer in Jesus, if you were a true disciple of the Anointed One, if you truly believed in God, you would know that one, He is very jealous. I myself am a very jealous person. I don't like sharing my things. I don't like sharing anything. I'm a very jealous person. I don't like sharing the people in my life. I'm very jealous, so I understand. If the Anointed One were to come to your church Easter Sunday, He would be looking around, asking you, what's going on here? What's with the eggs in the grass and the kids going to find it? What does it have to do with me? Nothing. He would spit you out. He said, be either hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out my mouth. Christians celebrating Easter, it's very lukewarm. It's a pagan holiday. Cannot describe to you enough how pagan it is. Bunnies and eggs, all that stuff, they're fertility symbols. The bunnies don't actually have the eggs. But the eggs and the bunnies. The main purpose of Ostara, that's the actual pagan holiday. It's where Easter comes from. The actual purpose of it is it's a fertility holiday. Pagans get out and they celebrate the fertility of the crops and the animals and all this other stuff. It's a pagan holiday. Now, if you want to know the very truth, the very, very truth, I will tell you the resurrection, the death, the resurrection, all of it is Passover related. It's for a holiday. It's observed on a holiday. It's Passover. Long, long time ago, Abraham was told by the father to lead his son up a hill. Isaac had wood over his shoulder. God said, you take him up this hill, and you'll prepare a place, and you sacrifice him to me. Abraham said, okay, fine, I trust you wholeheartedly. So he led his son Isaac up the hill with wood over his shoulder. And they prepared a place for sacrifice. And Isaac laid himself down. And he saw his father pick up a knife, and he was going to sacrifice him to the Lord. And the father said, no, don't hurt the baby. I'm going to provide a sacrifice through you. I'm going to provide a sacrifice. That was the initial promise. I will provide. The Lord will provide. I will provide a sacrifice for you. You don't have to hurt the baby. Don't ever hurt the baby. Again, God will never ask you to go out and harm anybody. But he said, don't harm the child. I'll provide. And they looked off in the distance and they see a lamb caught in a thorn bush. Now, a lot of people, and that was the sacrifice. They used that lamb and they sacrificed it on the altar that God sent them up there to make. A lot of people don't understand about types and shadows. Types and shadows. Type and shadow is what, and a lot of people think you don't have to concentrate on the Old Testament. Not true. You can find Jesus in the Old Testament. I was challenged to find him in the book of Deuteronomy. It wasn't that hard. He is in the scroll from beginning to end. But a type and shadow is something that happens in the Old Testament and comes to fruition in the New Testament. Abraham led his son Isaac up the hill with wood over his shoulder to sacrifice. And God said, no, I'm going to provide it. Later on, at Passover, And that was the Passover lamb. That coincidentally, Passover is the celebration of when the angel of death passes over the children of Israel in Egypt. They were there for so long. God said it's time for you to go. That's the celebration of Passover. Now, coincidentally, that's what God said I'm going to provide. Jesus was led by the Father up a hill with wood over his shoulder to be the sacrifice, the Passover lamb. The celebration of Passover is a celebration of the Exodus. It's a celebration. They have food. They do stuff they don't normally do on the Sabbath. You're only allowed to do so much work. They do a lot more to prepare and to feast. The main part of it, they have like horseradish and stuff like that, so you can remember the sorrows of being in the desert for so long. It was about the whole Exodus. But the lamb was about the sacrifice. You had a lamb at Passover to celebrate Passover. It would be the bones. Jesus was the Passover lamb. He died on the cross on Passover. He was the lamb. He was that lamb in the thorny bush. God said, I will provide a sacrifice. He was right there. He's right there. I don't understand. Well, I understand Constantine and all the other stuff and how Christians got to Easter. But I don't understand how true Christians can get eggs and rabbits and blah, blah, blah. It has nothing to do with the death or the resurrection. Nothing. Those two things are Passover related. Jesus was the Passover lamb. He is the reason that the angel of death is passed over everybody. All you have to do is accept it. That's all you have to do. Is know that back in the day, a man walked the earth like you do, like I do. He walked the earth. He didn't have to get on the cross. He didn't have to. But he died a horrible, horrible death. Now, to put this in perspective again, he wasn't just crucified. It was law that the firstborn of Israel would take a stone, and they would stone anyone accursed of God. And that's what they said he was. The Pharisees wanted him dead good. They called him accursed of God. He did not look human when they were done with him on the cross. He did not look human. I challenge anyone watching. I want you can look up John 12 in the Bible if you want to. That's the story of when Jesus came into Jerusalem on Passover, not Easter. He came into Jerusalem, everyone laid down palms, the same people that later on said, kill him. They laid down palms in front of the donkey, the colt. But I challenge you, look up Passover. He was the Passover lamb. Look it up. Look up the history of Passover, why it's celebrated, how it's celebrated. Look it up. That's the true miracle. He was the Passover lamb. I challenge anybody. To go through that pain for 5 seconds. Let someone beat on you for 5 seconds with a cat and knife. Let someone dig thorns into your skull. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what has become the Easter story. It's nothing to do with Easter. But I challenge you to go through that pain for 5 seconds. He went through it. Passover is a 3-day festival. Well, no, 4 days. 4 days. 4 days. It's the first 2 days and the last 2 days. 4-day festival. He went through that pain for the entirety of Passover. He was the Passover lamb. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the story because you know the story. If you don't, it's 2013. You need to catch up. Several brothers and I have discussed it. Maybe not at length, but we've all had the same impression. We know who the deceiver is. The deceiver is here. Oddly enough, I made that last video about the deceiver being here the night before it happened. But we know who the deceiver is. And you're still going to be deceived. You will still be deceived. It used to baffle me. How people are going to be deceived? How will you not know the truth and you hear it? Best way to lie to someone is to put a little bit of truth with a lie. He's going to deceive you. Easter has nothing to do with the death or the resurrection. The death and the resurrection is Passover related. It is part of the celebration of Passover. Now, Jesus fulfilled several of the Jewish holidays. The Passover was one, the day of Shabbat. Now, the day of Passover, the celebration of Passover, is when the angel of death passed over the children of Israel. Now, later on, they celebrate, I think it's Shabbat. It was the day when Moses went up the mountain and brought back down the law to the people. God wrote the law, and Moses brought it down. They celebrate that day. That was the day that he ascended. And the disciples got the little flame on top of their head. They got the chakra going. They got the purple chakra going. It lit up. That was the day of Shabbat because Jesus ascended into heaven on that day. He, like Moses, type and shadow, went up a mountain, got the law, and brought it down. That little light going off on top of the disciples' heads. Day of Pentecost. That was the law being wrote on the hearts of man. Like I said, you don't need religion to tell you what's wrong. Well, maybe some people do. But he fulfilled several Jewish holidays. That's why I tell you the day of rapture will happen on a Rosh Hashanah. I don't know when, what year, but I know that's the season. That's when it's going to happen. The horn's going to be blown, and everyone's going to go home. But that was the day of Pentecost, the day of Shabbat. He fulfilled and will fulfill the rest of the holidays. The Passover lamb, you have the first 2 days and the last 2 days. The Old Testament, the New Testament, there's a lot of different. But I want you to be educated. I'm telling you the truth. The death and the resurrection are Passover related. They have nothing to do with a pagan holiday about rabbits and eggs. They have nothing to do with the pagan holiday of fertility. The death and the resurrection have nothing to do with that. I'm going to play devil's advocate again. It's no miracle. It honestly, it pains me to say it. It really does pain me to say it. It really, really pains me to say it. Because I dare anyone to do it. But the miracle is not that the Son of God rose up on a cross and died for you. The miracle is not the death. Anybody has the capacity to get up on a cross, let someone nail it to them, and get whipped and beat and stabbed and stoned. Anyone can do that. Anybody can do it. The miracle is that 3 days later, the stone was rolled away. The Lamb of Passover, the Lamb of God, the sacrifice that He provided, came back to life. Now, anybody can crawl up on a cross for you, but only one person came back to life of his own accord. Because he was God made flesh. He can do anything he wants. You just think something. You don't even have to think. You just feel something, and it happens. It's God made flesh, Emmanuel. Miracle is that the stone was rolled away. That's the miracle. Like I said before, it irritates me to see. It irritates me, but it doesn't really bother me that much, I guess. To see people with crosses around their neck. That's an idol. It's an idol. You're not supposed to have idols. And anybody can crawl up on that cross that you have around your neck. Anyone can do it. The miracle is that the stone was rolled away. He came back to life. He paid that price. He did that to forgive you and me for anything that we do wrong. Because we are sinners. We're imperfect. We are going to drop our crosses. We are going to F up. We're going to do bad. None of us are good. He is our only hope. He is our only chance. Again, I reiterate, He doesn't save you from judgment. He saves you from damnation. You get to heaven by the skin of your teeth, you're still going to have a judgment. There's no escaping that. It will save you from anything you do wrong, and you will do wrong. I will do wrong. I reiterate again, I am a horrible, horrible person. I am very horrible. And I apologize to Him all the time for how horrible and spoiled that I am. And He forgives me, and I know that. He paid the price to cover whatever I do, whatever you do. We were passed over. The angel of death will pass you over. Death has no sting. The grave has no sting. You close your eyes in this life. You open them up in the next life. You see His face. There is no end to this journey. The angel of death will pass you over. The angel of death has passed you over. So, that's all I want to say for this video. The death and the resurrection have nothing to do with Easter. Nothing to do with Easter. It's about your children wanting to get up in the morning and find Easter baskets with chocolate. That's all it is. They want to go outside and they want to hunt eggs. Neither one of those things have anything to do with His resurrection or His death. Neither one of those things have anything to do with the miracle. Neither one of those things have anything to do with the stone being rolled away. It's Passover right. But like I said, I'm going to sit here and tell you this truth, and the majority of you aren't going to either hear this or you're not going to believe it. And that's up to you. It is up to you. There was a guy that we hired and then quit. He said his son was gay and he was Wiccan. I told him, don't worry. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about anything. And above all, don't judge your son. The things that I go through, the things that you go through, we go through with the divine. He is with you 24/7, even when you sleep. When your eyes are closed and you're off in la la land, He is still with you 24/7. There is nowhere you can go to hide. There is no time of day when there's rest. He is with you 24/7. But again, that's all this message for this video. Until we meet again in love and in peace. Listen, if you call yourself a true Christian, a true disciple, don't celebrate Easter. It has nothing to do with anything you believe. Till we meet again in love and in peace, you be blessed. Don't judge each other. Just love each other. That's all you gotta do. Just love. Bye.